There's a painting, rarely spoken of, never forgotten. Those who have seen it say the eyes don't just follow you, they watch. As if something inside is alive. Its frame is old, but what hides within has no age. Whispers surround it, owners vanish, rooms go cold. Some say it's cursed. Others say it's a doorway. But one thing is certain once you meet its gaze. You'll never walk away the same. The painting was first discovered in 1972, sealed behind a false wall. It was found during the estate clearance of a deceased antique dealer. Hidden in the attic, wrapped in cloth, covered in mold. Yet the face in the painting remained untouched. Eyes wide, alert, almost too human. The dealer had no family, no visitors, and no records of purchase. Only that painting and a note. Don't hang it, don't look too long. It didn't stay hidden for long. A collector named Vincent Hale bought it at auction, privately and in cash. Vincent was known for one thing, his obsession with objects tied to death. Cursed jewelry, haunted dolls, war relics. But nothing compared to this painting. Within weeks of owning it, Vincent's friends noticed he'd changed. He kept the curtains closed, spoke less, and often they said he'd just stare at the painting for hours, unmoving. Vincent disappeared one winter night. No signs of break-in, no forced doors. Just his coat still hanging and a video camera left recording. The footage showed him sitting in front of the painting. 3 hours passed, no movement. But in the final minute his lips moved, as if speaking to someone unseen. Then static. No sign of Vincent since. But that recording still plays with perfect clarity. Even now the eyes seem sharper than ever. After Vincent vanished, the painting was locked away again. Stored deep within a private vault. But something strange began to happen. The vault's motion detectors kept triggering, even when no one was there. And in one blurry frame, a handprint pressed on the inside of the glass. Experts dismissed it, but the guard who quit that night left just 5 words in his log. It watches you move, always. In 1989, an anonymous researcher tested flakes from the canvas. She thought it was paint. It was. The pigments contained trace elements of calcium, collagen, and iron. Organic material. Human. And when they scanned it with infrared, another layer appeared beneath. A second face, hidden under the surface. Twisted eyeless, screaming. She quit the project the next day and moved across the country. She's never spoken of it again. There's something etched into the wooden frame, almost invisible. Latin, oculus sum animi, I am the eye of the soul. It's not just art, it's a threshold. Some believe the painting acts as a vessel, a place where the consciousness of the dead can anchor. And those who stare too long, they don't just see the painting. The painting begins to see them. From the inside. In 1997, a small museum in Prague unknowingly acquired the piece. They displayed it as a Baroque curiosity. Within weeks, reports started. Lights flickering, visitors fainting, a janitor gone without trace. But worst of all, photos. The eyes, they shifted. Subtle at first, then unmistakable. One photo taken at night showed the painting smiling. It was removed the next day. But something else went missing too. The night guard. He was never found. A retired priest once claimed the painting was not painted, but copied from a child's drawing. He said the original sketch came from a girl in an orphanage. She drew the same face again and again on the walls, until one day she disappeared. All that remained was her final drawing. Same eyes, same stare. And below it scrawled in crayon, "He's almost out." The painting resurfaced in 2003 under Lot 153 at a London auction. It was mislabeled unattributed portrait, early 1800s. The buyer, an American therapist named Evelyn Grant. She bought it on impulse, hung it in her clinic waiting room. 2 clients dropped her the same week. Both claimed they felt someone breathing behind them. There was no one there, only the painting centered on the wall. One day, Evelyn locked the clinic at 6 p.m. She remembers reaching for her keys. Then nothing. She woke up inside the office, lights off, door still locked, at 7:13. 1 full hour gone. Security footage showed her walking into the room. But she never walked out. She just stood there unmoving, staring at the painting for exactly 66 minutes. A conservator once removed the painting's backing for restoration. What he found was not dust, but cloth, stuffed tightly between canvas and frame. When unwrapped, it revealed a torn sleeve, stained, brittle. And when held to the ear, it whispered, just once, a rasping voice. 4 words. He lives in light. The conservator quit the same night and left the country. Some believe the painting's true danger lies in reflection. Mirrors amplify it. In one experiment, 7 mirrors were placed facing it. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. Then one cracked. Then another. By the end, only static came from the audio recorder. But in the mirror, the painting's eyes blinked, slowly, as if noticing the person behind the lens. Watching back, an art historian tried analyzing the signature on the bottom corner. Barely visible. It read ND. He ran chemical tests on the ink and froze. It wasn't ink. The sample included hemoglobin, keratin, and a trace of mercury. Writing done in a mixture of blood and embalming fluid, from a formula used only in 17th century funerary rites. No artist ever signed that way, unless they wanted their work to last forever. A diary found in a decaying monastery hinted at the painting's origin. The entry, dated 1634, describes a portrait commissioned by N.D. The monk wrote, "He came with no face, but left with many." The diary ends abruptly. Pages torn, ink smeared. The final word visible beneath bloodstain. Bound, as if the subject of the portrait wasn't painted into it, but trapped. In 2011, the painting was part of a rotating exhibit in Marseille. It stayed for 1 week. During that time, emergency exits failed twice. One employee suffered a seizure in front of it, and a visitor, a skeptic, collapsed, whispering. His mouth moved. Security cameras confirmed the moment, but the footage glitched. Every time his lips moved, so did the figure S in the frame. One curator claimed something strange. The signature wasn't stable. He said it appeared and vanished, sometimes bold, sometimes erased. Photographs taken weeks apart confirmed it. In some it read ND. In others, nothing, as if the painting itself chose when to reveal its name. Or worse, when to reclaim it. During an infrared scan, technicians noticed something impossible. A slight pulsing deep inside the canvas. Too rhythmic to be a glitch. 4 pulses, pause, 4 more. They ran it through audio software. The pattern matched one thing, a human heartbeat. Slow, faint, but steady, as if the painting wasn't dead, only sleeping. A parapsychologist blindfolded 10 volunteers, each placed in a room with the painting or a blank canvas. None were told which, but 9 out of 10 felt watched. They described a presence. 1 cried, 1 passed out. Only the 10th felt nothing. He later admitted he'd lost his sight years ago. The painting had no interest in him, because its hunger is through vision. A sound engineer filtered white noise near the painting. He found something buried in the frequency. A whisper, repeating always the same phrase. Don't turn around. He enhanced it, slowed it. The voice wasn't random. It carried tone, emotion. And on one slowed playback, it spoke a name. Vincent, the collector who vanished. His voice, still trapped inside. In 2015, someone tried to destroy it. A private buyer poured accelerant and lit a match. The fire alarm triggered. But when responders arrived, nothing had burned. Not a scorch, not a mark. Only the buyer on the floor, catatonic. His hands blistered, but the painting untouched. He later repeated one phrase in the hospital. I saw my own death and it smiled. Visitors to one gallery often report seeing a woman. In the glass, not in the painting but in its reflection. She stands behind them, motionless, watching. The gallery has no record of her. No one matches her face. But she appears in 6 separate photos taken years apart. Always the same dress. Always the same spot. And always, just before something goes missing. The painting is no longer on public display. Its current owner is private, unlisted, but once a month a package arrives at a university lab. Inside, blood samples. Unlabeled, unknown origin. Same blood every time. Same type. O negative. No return address. Only a note tucked beneath the parcel flap. Still watching. An archivist once spent 4 weeks cataloging references to the painting. She cross-referenced diaries, auction slips, even death certificates. But one night she stopped, burned her notes, resigned. Her final email simply said, "The pattern is too exact." She never explained, only added one attachment, a blurred scan of a child's drawing. The same eyes, same face, and underneath in shaky pencil. He hides in frames. Several owners of the painting report identical experiences. Knocking sounds at 3:03 a.m. Cold spots that follow you. Mirrors that fog without heat. And most disturbingly, a voice, not loud, just enough to hear when the house is silent. A whisper always from the direction of the painting. Always the same question. Do you see me now? An occult researcher attempted to bind the painting using ritual candles and salt. She live-streamed it. Hundreds watched. At 33 minutes in, her candle blew out despite no wind. Her voice changed. Eyes unfocused. She said slowly, "He's not inside the painting." Then stared straight into the camera. "He's behind it." The stream cut to black. She was found unconscious and never spoke again. Experts agree the painting style is ancient. But the frame, it's wrong. To know. Traces of modern tools, synthetic varnish. As if someone reframed it recently. But no one admits doing it. No logs, no repairs. Which raises a deeper question. Who or what needed it preserved? And why does the frame, not the painting, carry tiny claw marks? On the inside, a sealed letter was found beneath the floorboards of a Scottish manor. Addressed to whom finds the watcher. It warned, do not speak aloud before it learns. The writer claimed they'd lost both brother and sister to the painting. That it copies voices, remembers them, and over time starts speaking back. But not in your voice. In theirs. Multiple photos of the painting show something strange. The shadow cast by the figure changes. Not with light, but with time. In one photo, the shadow reaches forward. In another, it stretches sideways. One shows it reaching past the edge of the canvas. Experts blamed photo errors. But one photographer insisted. The shadow touched his lens. And since that day, he can't take pictures anymore. Nothing develops, only black. In a private lab test, a chemical reaction exposed hidden primer beneath the paint. It wasn't gesso. It was coagulated blood, thinly spread, layered with ashes. Forensic analysis showed DNA from at least 4 individuals. None identified, and strangely no brush marks, as if it wasn't applied by hand, but poured, ritualistic, like a sacrifice laid beneath the art, to keep something sealed inside. A psychologist published a paper on gaze contagion. He studied subjects who'd only seen the painting through photos. Still, they reported nausea, headaches, nightmares of watching eyes. One subject carved pupils into every surface of her room. Another went blind without injury. He concluded, "The painting doesn't need your presence. It only needs your attention. A single look, and it begins to grow in you." At an estate sale, a cracked music box was found beside the painting's crate. It plays only one tune, a strange lullaby. But reversed, the melody spells out a pattern. It matches a Gregorian chant used in exorcisms. The inscription on the lid reads, "Sleep not near the eyes." No one knows who made it. But the tune has appeared in 4 other haunted object cases. A museum once issued a press release denying all supernatural claims. 3 paragraphs, but within hours it was pulled. Archived versions now show redacted blocks. Entire sentences missing. A staff member later confessed. One paragraph wrote itself. They didn't type it, didn't remember writing. It simply appeared. And what it said wasn't a denial. It was an invitation. The painting's glass was cleaned before each exhibit. But always within hours, prints reappeared. Not smudges, perfectly formed fingertips. Too small for adult hands. Too defined for accident. Lab results proved impossible. No oils, no DNA. As if the prints weren't real. Just impressions. From the other side, one cathedral received the painting for inspection. A priest approached, then stopped, refused to step into the same room. He said the air felt inverted, like breathing through ice. He didn't bless the painting, didn't touch it, only whispered, "It's not what's in the frame, it's what the frame allows." He requested the entire wing be sealed, and left that night without explanation. Several owners share the same nightmare. They're underwater, not cold, just dark, floating, and above them the painting, sinking, not canvas but heavy as stone. And when it reaches them, the eyes open, flooding their vision. They wake gasping. One said, "It doesn't just haunt you awake. It waits for you to fall asleep." In a private gallery, a disconnected rotary phone rang. No dial tone, no wiring. One ring, then silent. The curator answered anyway, and froze. She heard her own voice, whispering, begging, saying words she hadn't spoken yet. It ended with one phrase, delivered in a rasp. "You already let him out." A carpenter measured the frame's exact dimensions, noted every angle. But a week later they changed. By 2 millimeters. The wood stretched, bent, without damage, as if it were alive, or responding. He remeasured 4 times. Same result. And on his final visit, he left one message scratched into the workbench. "It's making room." A legend tells of a painter in 1620 Prague, who gouged out his own eyes after completing a portrait. Witnesses claimed he screamed, "He painted me back." His studio burned the same night. All works destroyed except one. Unmarked, unsigned. but with familiar eyes. Scholars now believe that man, Nicholas Drevin, may have been the original artist, or the first victim. A metallurgist traced iron flecks in the painting's nails. They came from smelted coffin handles, used during plague era burials. The frames wood, oak from uprooted cemetery trees. Not reused but reclaimed, as if the painting was never meant to decorate. It was meant to imprison, or perhaps invite something in. In 2006, a child went missing during a private estate tour. Last seen near the painting. Security footage showed him approach it, then vanish. No exit, just a flicker in the frame. And hours later, a new detail appeared on the canvas. A faint outline of a child's hand pressed on glass, curved inwards, as if from the inside. A wealthy collector was found dead beside the painting. No signs of struggle, only a note unsigned written backward. He only wanted to be seen. His security system failed the entire night. But one camera rebooted at 3:03 a.m. It captured a frame, the painting, with a faint silhouette standing behind it. Not in the room, behind the canvas. No bulb survives long near the painting. LEDs flicker. Incandescents burst. But more curious, photos taken in total darkness still reveal the eyes. Lit from within, somehow glowing. A tech specialist once used thermal imaging. The eyes radiated faint heat, but only when no one was watching. As if the painting shifts when unseen, like something waiting to move. Behind a demolished museum wall, workers found a scrap of parchment. A single line written in Latin. Quod vidit tenet. What it sees, it holds. Below that, a smeared thumbprint. Later analysis showed human ink and age beyond 300 years. The wall had been sealed since 1890. But the ink, still fresh. A guest visiting the painting reached to adjust their reflection, only to find the glass gave slightly. Not solid, not mirror. It rippled, just once. They screamed, backed away, and the glass returned to normal. Later, technicians tested the surface. It passed all materials checks. But the guest swore, it wasn't reflecting me. It was showing something else. Something that looked like me, but smiled. An investigator compared the painting's face to old missing persons reports and found matches. Not one, but 5. Each disappeared over decades. Each had no known connection. But their facial features, somehow layered beneath the brushstrokes, almost like a collage, or a record, not of one person, but many. Each time someone stares too long, the painting remembers their face. In a storage vault, the painting was sealed alone. 4 locks, steel casing. And one night, the door stood wide open. No break-in, no alarm, just silence. Cameras went black for 66 minutes. And when power returned, the painting had shifted, turned just slightly, now facing the exit, as if ready, as if it had taken one small step. Several viewers claimed to hear the painting say their names. Soft, precise, always when alone, never recorded, but each name was personal, never guessed. Some hadn't been spoken in years. Childhood nicknames, old secrets. One woman wept after hearing her dead mother's voice whisper her name. But her mother never saw the painting. At least, not in life. A man stared at the painting for 10 minutes straight. He said he felt understood, like it listened. Then he blinked and the face changed. Not fully, just the mouth. It smiled, only once, but he saw it. And after that, he couldn't stop smiling himself, even while crying, even after checking into a psych ward. He said, he lent me the smile. Guards assigned to protect the painting sometimes report sounds. Not voices, but dragging. Slow, wet, from under the floor. They open the boards, nothing. But the sound stops. And when they leave, it starts again, like something pacing, just beneath their feet, waiting for the right moment to rise. One guard quit, left one sentence in the logbook. It wants to be carried now. A 3D scan of the painting revealed depth in the eyes. Not illusion, actual depth. Impossible given flat canvas. Zooming in, technicians found layered images. Eyes behind eyes. Portraits behind the main. Each more decayed. Each closer to something unpainted. A final shape. Too dark to resolve. Too deep. The scan corrupted all nearby files, leaving only one image intact. The original face. Staring. In a locked exhibit vault, staff discovered a second painting. Same size, same style, but with a different face. Softer, younger. No one admitted moving or duplicating it. And worse, the first painting was gone. No theft, no break-in. Just exchanged. The new face stared up calmly, and beneath it, etched into the corner. Your turn. It's been tested with blackout cloth, with lead shielding, with total darkness. But the eyes never dim. Never blink. One experimenter tried to film it for 72 hours. He fell asleep on night 2. When he woke, the footage was intact. But in every frame, the eyes were open. Even during the hours, he covered the lens. As if they saw through everything. Even you. One researcher claims the eyes in the painting weren't always two. In early photographs, only one is clearly visible. But over time, they multiplied. Slight variations. New glints. Different angles. As if the painting was adding more observers. More witnesses. Or perhaps more selves. Now under infrared there are 7. 7 sets of eyes. Only 2 seen by us. The others, still learning to open. In 2017, a visitor was recorded standing silently before the painting for over 2 hours. Unmoving. When guards reviewed the footage, they noticed something wrong. His reflection was missing. The painting's glass showed only the room, no figure. When approached, the man was gone. Never seen leaving. Only one thing remained. A palm print on the inside of the glass, pressed from the other side. A psychologist treating survivors of the painting made one last tape. In it, he speaks calmly. Until the end. His voice cracks. He says, "It doesn't care if you believe, it only cares if you look." Then he whispers, "I made eye contact, I think I let him see me." The recording ends with static, and a single knock. Loud, close, inside the room. UV light revealed microscopic cracks forming strange patterns across the canvas. Not random. A map, topographical, but to where? Overlaying it with ancient layouts revealed something disturbing. The paths matched a long-demolished crypt. One lost beneath a plague pit in 1666. The name carved above its sealed door. Drevin, the suspected painter. Or perhaps, his present. Several former owners reported an eerie effect. They started seeing the eyes in other places. In rusted metal. In shattered screens. In puddles. Not reflections, replications. As if the painting had left something behind. Or followed them. One man tore every mirror from his home. Still the eyes found him. In his dreams. Then in his closed eyelids. Even there, they blinked. A sound engineer filtered out ambient noise during an overnight session. In total silence, a shape formed in the spectrogram. Letters, a name, Nicola's Drevin. The pattern repeated every 66 seconds. No sound, only data. Like something speaking without voice. When reversed, the signal produced another word. Not a name, but a location. Beneath. After 2 years in climate-controlled storage, staff measured the painting again. It was taller, by nearly half an inch. No warping, no stretching, just more. Tests confirmed the canvas had extended beyond its original weave. New material, new texture, no explanation. One corner even contained fresh pigment. Still wet, as if the painting wasn't finished. Not by the artist, but by something inside. An AI trained to transcribe whispers picked up background audio near the painting. It recognized phrases not spoken aloud. Private memories, buried confessions. One researcher gasped when it repeated his late father's last words. Perfect tone, exact inflection. But no one in the room had spoken, except the voice in the frame. It doesn't echo what you say. It echoes what you hide. A hairline crack once appeared on the painting's surface. Harmless, but over weeks it spread. Not across, down, splitting the canvas as if opening. Inside was no canvas. Just black, impossibly deep. A slit in reality. It closed days later. But those who saw it claimed something stared back. And smiled, with eyes that didn't belong to any human. One technician placed a contact mic against the frame. Silent, then a low hum. Consistent, rhythmic. Not electronic. Organic. Almost like breathing. The tone deepened when touched. And for a moment, he felt a pulse. He recoiled, dropped the device. But in the recording, a heartbeat remained, and a voice behind it. 3 words, still inside, waiting. One prestigious museum hosted the painting for only 12 hours. Then removed it. No press release. No documentation. Staff were instructed never to mention it again. But a whistleblower later shared a memo. One sentence had been underlined in red. It turned. No context. No explanation. Only a warning at the bottom. Do not make eye contact if it turns again. Time behaves strangely around the painting. One room aged 10 years in 5. Wallpaper peeled. Floorboards rotted. Yet the painting remained pristine. Unchanged. Unfaded. Like it draws time from its surroundings. Or worse, from the people in the room. One archivist developed white hair in a single night. She said, "I didn't sleep, but I dreamed for years." Inside the frame, temperatures drop around the painting, but not like a normal chill. It pulses, moves, finds you, and in that cold, a whisper rides the air. Always behind you, never clear, until one day a man turned around too fast. Collapsed instantly. His last breath. It's not cold. It's someone. Each institution that's housed the painting reported unexplained blackouts. Short, always between 2:59 and 3:05 a.m. Sensors cut. Cameras freeze. And when systems return, the painting's position has changed. By inches, by degrees, never noticed, until patterns are compared. Each time it turns slightly, toward one direction. The same coordinates. A single place, marked only as Drevin's tomb. An anonymous journal was mailed to 3 museums. Same handwriting, same message. Last page reads, "He's no longer bound, he's learned to move." Soon he'll step fully through. The book ends with a sketch, not of the painting, but of a doorway, framed in wood, and two eyes, already open, already watching, not from canvas, but from the other side of the lens. A local TV segment aired a brief story about the haunted painting. Halfway through, the feed glitched. Static. Then a single frame not from their cameras. It showed a hallway. Empty, except for the painting standing upright. No wall, no wires. Just placed there. Seconds later, the anchor began bleeding from the nose. She whispered, "He's in the signal," then collapsed live on air. A university had compiled all known research on the painting. 6 terabytes of data. Backed up, encrypted. Then one morning, gone. All files missing. Drives intact but blank. Except one folder. Empty except for a single TXT file. Do not open. They did. Inside, nothing but 2 blinking characters. Like eyes. Then the screen turned black. And never turned on again. A 5-year-old girl saw the painting during a family tour. She stared, then began speaking fluent Latin. No one knew how. She repeated a phrase again and again. Porta aperta est. The door is open. When they brought her home, she stopped speaking entirely. But every night since, she draws the same face. The eyes grow wider each time. And now, the door behind her bed creaks open. One owner tried destroying the painting by fire. They never got the chance. As they prepared the pyre, flames rose prematurely, unlit. Inside the fire, they saw a face. Not the painted one. A new one. Watching from the flames. It mouthed something. And in that moment their clothes ignited. They survived, but claimed the voice hissed. You burn for me now. A museum curator overseeing the painting's transfer went missing mid-shift. Surveillance showed her enter the archive room. Never came out, but when slowed to frame by frame. A flicker, a brief moment where her hand merges with the canvas. And the painting's eyes, now slightly wider, as if stretching to absorb one more. She was never found, but the painting weighed 2 pounds heavier. An online forum tracked haunted artifacts. One user posted about the painting. Details, dates, images. Within minutes, the thread vanished. Soon after, the entire forum went offline. Admin accounts wiped. Archives blank. The only remnant was a cached version of the post. At the bottom, one final comment appeared in red text. He prefers silence. In a storage facility across the globe, workers found a second frame. Empty, but same style, same dimensions. No painting inside. Just scorch marks, and a single thumbprint burned into the wood. It matched the vanished curator. Forensic teams had no answers. One investigator whispered, "It's not just one painting. It's a system, and one of them is already missing its occupant." Guards stationed near the painting describe a strange sound at night. Breathing, but not human. Wider, slower, as if lungs bigger than any chest, filled and released. Some claim it syncs with their own breath. Others say it lides theirs. But one guard recorded it. And when the sound was reversed, it formed one word. Soon, an art database that indexed thousands of portraits suffered a system crash. Only one file survived. The painting, but not just one version, dozens. Each with slight changes. Different mouths, new expressions, and in one variation. The subject was missing. Only the background remained. When printed, it showed an empty chair, facing forward, as if waiting for someone, or something. A reel-to-reel recorder left running near the painting captured hours of nothing. Then without input, it began recording. No one touched it. No sounds played. But it filled with dense whispers, all layered, in dozens of voices. When analyzed, one voice clearly repeated, "Return what you took." But no one knows what was taken, or what will happen if it isn't returned. A mirror placed opposite the painting remained whole for 2 weeks. Then cracked, not from outside impact, but from within, as if pressure pushed out. The crack formed a perfect arc like an opening mouth. And deep inside the fracture, something shimmered. A pupil, reflecting back. Yet when examined, the mirror held no depth. Only flat glass. And a whisper, "I see you now." A researcher working late claimed the painting called her. Not with sound, but with a thought. A name spoken inside her skull. She heard it once, then again, then couldn't stop. Her own name. On loop. She smashed her phone. Unplugged every device. But still heard it. Until she wrote it down. And when she did, the voice whispered, "Thank you, now I know who to wear." Humidity sensors detected an odd absorption pattern on the painting. It drew in moisture unnaturally fast, even from sealed glass. Then during transport, a worker cut his hand. A single drop of blood hit the frame and vanished. No stain, no residue. But seconds later, the eyes gleamed, and for the first time the mouth appeared wet. A restorer received a crate with no return info. Inside, a frame, identical to the painting S, but empty. She stored it in her office. That night she heard creaking, the sound of stretching canvas. But when she checked, still empty. Only dust on the floor, in the shape of footprints, leading toward the hallway, and away from the frame. For centuries the eyes have watched, always open. But now something's changing. Multiple reports claim the eyes have shifted. Drooping, slower, closing. But that's not comfort. It's warning, because eyes don't close unless something else is waking. One letter found near the sealed crate reads, "If the eyes shut, it means he no longer needs them." Sleep researchers noted a surge in identical dreams across unrelated patients. A dark room, a frame, and a face not quite human. It speaks without sound. And when they wake, they remember the painting, even if they've never seen it. The dream spreads city to city, and each patient draws the same thing. Two half-shut eyes, and the words, "He is almost through." A photographer captured the painting at high resolution. But when reviewed, the image changed. The background faded. The face turned toward the lens. Not subtly, fully, as if aware. And when he printed it, the ink bled. Not randomly, but upward toward the eyes. He burned the prints. But now every photo he takes includes those same eyes, even when no subject is present. In transfer, the painting was sealed in a crate. 6-inch oak, double locks. During shipment, guards reported knocking. From inside, rhythmic, measured, and when the truck stopped, so did the sound. They opened the crate. The painting sat still, but the back panel was cracked, from pressure outwards, as if something had tried to stand up. A private buyer moved the painting across state lines. His GPS rerouted mid-drive to an abandoned chapel. He didn't realize until arrival. No cell signal. No exits logged. The system said, "You have arrived at your final destination." He blacked out, woke hours later. The painting gone. but etched on the church wall. I walk now. On the back of the frame, fine scratches began to appear. Not random. An ancient script older than Latin. Linguists translated one phrase. He who is seen must be served. The scratches grew daily. More words, a command, a time, and finally, a name, not of the painter, but the next to be painted. A collector stared into the painting every night, claimed he understood it, until one day, the face inside changed. Still the same eyes, but the nose, the mouth, they matched his. He locked it away, but it followed him. Mirrors, windows, dreams. Each reflection showed the same face, his. Until finally, his own reflection vanished, and all that was left was the one in the frame. The painting was once covered in heavy cloth. No light, no exposure. But after 3 days, red stains seeped through. Not paint, blood. Lab tests confirmed type O negative. Same as all prior samples. And under the cloth, the face had changed. Smiling, only slightly, like it had been dreaming, and was pleased with what it saw. Not everyone hears it, but those who do never forget. A hum, low, vibrating the chest, not the ears. Always when near the painting, and always followed by the same phrase. Not spoken aloud but known. You are mine. One woman heard it, and never entered another room with walls. She claimed he used them to crawl. A security guard saw movement during a midnight sweep. Not in the room, in the frame. A second figure, standing behind the main one. Taller, faceless. The guard screamed. Footage caught only static. But for the next 3 nights, the same silhouette stood at the end of his bed. Until one night it moved, and he didn't wake up. A pop-up exhibit in Berlin displayed the painting for one night. Visitors were allowed in, but not out. Doors wouldn't open. Phones failed. The lights dimmed. Inside, the painting began to shift. Crowds screamed when emergency crews arrived. The building was empty, silent, but one guard's phone kept recording. And in that footage, a voice, one of them stayed. Not from speakers, not hallucination. The voice came from the wood. They lied. It spoke one sentence in 17 languages at once. I am here. Audio equipment confirmed no device present. No ventriloquism. Just resonance. And after it stopped, the wood grew warm. Like breath, like life, like a throat that had just finished speaking. Then for the first time the eyes shut. A full blink, caught on tape. 2 frames only. Enough to confirm. Enough to terrify. Because no one saw what happened next. The room went black. When power returned, the frame was empty. Canvas torn, but still warm, and etched into the wall behind it. He no longer needs to be seen. Sightings began. A tall man, painted skin blurred at the edges. Sign in windows, in tunnels, in reflections that shouldn't reflect. No one gets a clear look, but every drawing of him matches the original face, down to the uneven pupils. And when asked his name, one survivor said, he didn't answer. He just tilted his head, like he was painting me. Late at night, some TVs flicker on unprompted. A static channel, but not empty. A figure sits still, facing the camera. Unmoving, unblinking, and in some versions, the frame behind him returns. As if rebuilt. Stronger, like it wants to begin again. Those who watch too long forget what they saw, but always wake. with paint on their hands. You followed every thread, every whisper, every blink. But now ask yourself, where is the painting now? Is it still hanging, still waiting, or is it already closer than you think? Some say the story ends here. Others say it begins again. With you, because as you listened, you looked, and as you looked, it saw you. An old university archive was being digitized. Deep in storage, they found a sealed crate. Unmarked, inside a frame. No canvas, no nails, but the interior was stained, like something had been torn out. On the bottom edge, etched backwards, you already saw it. One archivist fainted. The other just asked, "Then why do I still see eyes?" When I close mine, everywhere the painting had been stored, dust behaves strangely. It gathers faster, forms shapes, circles, spirals, sometimes prints, tiny ones, hands or feet, and when time-lapse footage is played backward, the dust lifts, not from air, but as if retreating from something unseen, as if making room for someone to step forward. A shipping label was printed. Destination unknown. Origin unknown. But the box was real. Delivered to a dead-end alley in Prague. Found unopened but warm. Inside, a rolled canvas. Blank, but under blacklight faint brush marks. Still wet, and a note tucked in the seam. He paints himself now. Long thought gone. The original signature returned. And the fresh ink unknown. It glowed faintly in moonlight as if reacting. One researcher traced its curvature and found it matched a sigil from 17th century demonology. A name of summoning, but incomplete, because Drevin, it turns out, was not the artist. He was the canvas. Entire wings of museums report strange silences. No creaks, no echo. Even voices seem swallowed. Visitors whisper without knowing why. And in the center of each silence, a faint outline on the wall. Not quite visible, but familiar, as if something was once there, and left something behind. Not an object, a hunger. A child spelled a name in crayon. Backward, and they repeated, over and over. When reversed, DN. The initials of a missing priest. One who vanished the year the painting surfaced. His last journal said, "The frame doesn't hold him. It reflects him." And in that reflection, he saw something else. Another frame, not built yet. Doctors reported patients with tinnitus. That pulses, like a signal. When played through audio software, it forms a pattern. A sketch, of eyes. Overlay it with the painting, a match. Exact, except for one difference. In this version, the mouth is open, and sound engineers swear they hear a whisper inside the static. Sighing, "You brought me home." Architects renovating a burnt-down estate found strange blueprints. Pages untouched by fire. Drawings of rooms that never existed. Each room had only one feature. A wall, just large enough for a frame. The builder signed it ND. But in the mirror of the drawing, a faint shape appeared. Not ink, a reflection, staring out from inside the paper. No one claims it now. No insurance, no receipts, but someone, somewhere still has it. Hidden or displayed, we don't know, but every so often a crate arrives at random locations. Empty inside, but warm, and beneath the lid, the scent of oil paint, and a message scrawled in ash. He is between frames. They called him Drevin, but that name was never his. He was a vessel, a door, the real artist, whatever it was, used him to begin. Now it paints without brush, without canvas. It paints with memory, with attention, with fear, and every time you think of him, you add another stroke, another layer, until finally, he finishes himself. One researcher found a canvas in their home. They hadn't put it there. It was blank. Then it was. Over days, a face began forming. Their own, but older, eyes deeper, faint cracks across the skin. And behind the face, two other shadows, both smiling, one hand extended, a brush in its grip, still wet, still working. Those who watched the painting longest began to change. Not visibly, but subtly. Mirrors acted strange. Voices echoed wrong. And they stopped blinking. Or started blinking. In sync, one doctor noticed. The more they looked, the more they reflected. Until at last they didn't see themselves. They saw the frame. And within it, you listened. You imagined. You let it into your mind. And now it stays. Not in museums. Not in crates. But in you. Behind the eye. Just at the edge of thought. A canvas forming. A frame widening. So if you ever hear a knock, light from inside the mirror, remember this. You were warned. And somewhere, the painting awakens. Not in wood. Not on canvas, but in story, in voice, in memory. You brought him back, with belief, with curiosity, with fear, and now his eyes open. Well, you'll know soon, because when you see a shape that doesn't belong, when you blink and it's closer, remember, he doesn't need paint anymore, just your attention. The story ends here. But his watching never does. If you heard him, he's already closer. So leave a mark, a comment, a share, anything to pass him along. Because that's all he needs. To be seen. And if you stay silent, you may be next. Subscribe before the eyes find you. Because now, they already know your name. A programmer found strange code embedded in an unrelated art database. Obfuscated, buried. When decrypted, it rendered a pattern. A face, pixelated but unmistakable. No one had uploaded it. No one claimed authorship. But every time it was deleted, it came back, slightly clearer, like it was reteaching itself. Not just to be stored, but to spread. Security cameras across cities began glitching. Only at 3:03 a.m. And only for one frame. But that frame always the same. Two eyes, staring straight into the lens. No face, no context, just eyes. And when enhanced, each image contained slight reflections of the rooms they were seen in. As if something had looked back. From inside the wire, ham radio operators began reporting interference. Voices layered in static. One repeated phrase in multiple languages. I was seen, now I see. Some dismissed it. Others kept listening. But one operator vanished after receiving a direct call. From his own frequency. The only trace left behind. A scrap of paper beside the radio, reading. No longer a painting, now a presence. An art app launched a new feature, Auto Sketch. But users noticed something wrong. No matter what they drew. The app added one element. Two eyes, wide, uneven, buried in shadows. The devs claimed it was a prank. But one engineer admitted privately. It wasn't in the code. And every time he uninstalled the app, his phone screen turned black. except for the eyes. One patient described a recurring dream. A hallway of frames, each empty except one. It showed him sleeping. Every night the dream returned, until one night the frame was broken, and the figure from within was gone. He woke to claw marks on his wall, and a whisper, not in his ear, but from his pillow. I was framed, now I'm free. A text-to-image AI was fed prompts based on the painting, but it stopped responding, generated only black squares. One engineer forced it to output anyway. The result, an image labeled original source located. It crashed the system. Reboot logs showed one final line, typed by no one. Do not recreate what was never finished. The server has remained offline ever since. Cybersecurity teams found a malicious file in multiple art archives. It didn't steal data. It rewrote metadata, tagging unrelated files with one word. Some files grew in size. Others spawned hidden folders. Inside each, a low-res scan of the painting's eyes. When opened, they flickered, and once blinked. No one knows what happens if you keep them open too long. Art historians across the world received the same email. No sender, no server log, just a subject line. You looked too long. Inside, a single photo attachment. Corrupted, unviewable, yet some claim they felt it. Pressure behind the eyes. Weight in the chest. One expert deleted it, then found the same image printed inside their desk drawer. A podcast discussed the painting. Briefly, their waveform recorded normally. But on playback, the audio visualizer showed something new. A face, eyes formed by the peaks, a mouth in the lows. They laughed it off, posted the episode anyway. All their listeners reported the same dream. A voice calling from behind a canvas, and one phrase they can't unhear. Now you hear me. People began finding the same sketch in their childhood belongings. Not scanned, not printed, drawn, a crude face, 2 eyes, 1 crack through the forehead. Each page dated before they remembered ever hearing the story. Same signature, and and on the back, a single line, handwritten in what looked like charcoal. He's always been near. Neurologists scanned a subject who dreamed of the painting. Nothing strained, until a visual cortex flare. A shape appeared, rectangular, canvas-sized, inside their brain. Not metaphor, not imagination. Measured, reactive, as if the concept of the painting had become a structure, a presence, a resident. One doctor whispered, "He doesn't live in galleries anymore. He lives in us." In one slowed frame of an infrared scan. The painting blinked, but not like before. This time a second face appeared. Behind the lid, just for a flash, smiling, older, wider, and where the eyes should be, was a mouth, moving, whispering something too fast to hear. But the technician who looped it again and again said, "It said my name backward." A museum ordered a replica for study. The artist declined, said he didn't need to paint it, that it was already in his hand. Days later, he was found in his studio. Walls covered in unfinished eyes. One canvas in the center, blank, except a single corner. Signed ND. But he never dipped his brush. And he never woke up. Someone mirrored the initials again. From ND to DN, ran them through a 17th century cipher. And it returned a word. Not a name, a command. The sender. Latin to descend, but contextually used in rites of entry, of arrival, not from above, but below. And on the final parchment a line appeared. He rises by falling through us. You've made it this far, and the story has started writing itself. You feel it, don't you? In the rhythm, in the phrasing, in the silence between scenes. It's already found your cadence, your breath, because the painting was never paint. It was pattern. And now that you've followed everyone, he doesn't need to be told. He only needs to be retold. An architect dreamed of a room. No corners, just endless curves like stretched canvas. He woke and drew it perfectly. The floor plan matched no building. But when posted online, strangers replied, "I've been there." One even described the smell. Dust, oil, and old breath. Inside this room, a single object. Not hung, not resting, just waiting for someone to notice the walls. An audio engineer paused a recording mid-word. One frame, inside the silence. Not image, a waveform. Perfectly shaped. He zoomed in, heard a whisper, a second voice beneath the voice. It said, "Thank you for the pause." No, he can't stop hearing the eye blink. Yes, hearing, not seeing, because in this story, silence is just a canvas for him. The original painting used a red no lab could replicate. Not crimson, not rust, something deeper. One chemist called it preverbal red, as if it existed before words. When isolated, it triggered nausea in colorblind subjects. Impossible, but the tone persisted. And in dreams, the same red reappeared. Not on walls, but behind eyelids. The exact color of something watching before you wake. One gallery guest stood still before a mirror. Not their own reflection. The painting us. It showed the frame, but inside not the face. The void, yet the glass fogged. Breath, from inside. They stepped closer. It fogged again, and as they lined in, their reflection blinked. A moment before they did. A lag in reality, or a light in intention. Whichever it is, it's not theirs anymore. In metadata, a number began repeating. Not timestamps, not IDs, just a slow countdown. 13,499. 13,498. It ticked each time someone viewed the painting online. Not just full images, thumbnails, even cached fragments. What happens when it hits zero? No one knows. But recently, someone claims to have seen negative numbers. As if it's already begun. Unwriting what we thought we were safe remembering. A deaf artist felt vibrations from a sealed gallery crate. Patterns, deliberate, like Morse, they translated it. A full sentence. I never needed sound, just attention. She'd never seen the painting. But after that night, she drew it from memory. Detail perfect. Even the signature. She doesn't remember drawing. Only one thing. She hasn't slept since. Because he doesn't blink anymore. She does. You remember a hallway. Or maybe you don't. But the shape lingers. The scent, and a flicker in your mind. Of standing before something. It's not your memory. But it's placed in you now. Inserted. Like a brushstroke you didn't notice. Until now. And that is how he spreads. Not through presence. Through placement. They say the first to ever hear the painting speak was a boy. Blind, but when near it, he screamed. Described colors no one taught him. Said the painting was folding open. Not inwards out. He asked one question before vanishing. What's behind the frame? No one answered. But now you're wondering too. And that means you're already close enough. When you ask, what's behind the frame? You'll hear nothing. But that is your answer. A silence heavy with shape, with breath, with anticipation. Because he knows. You looked, you followed, and now you've left a mark. Not physical, not digital, just enough thought, enough weight. He's not inside the painting anymore. He's inside the asking. And every question you whisper, he collects. A glitch in design software began replicating a stroke. Not random. It curved like the lower lid of an eye. Every project, every canvas, over and over. Some tried deleting it. It returned, and when inverted, the stroke formed a signature. And only then did the engineers realize. He's no longer in frames. He's in functions. Every tool that draws might now be his brush. One user paused this story, just briefly, but noticed something odd. The pause icon, 2 vertical bars. Inside them faint pupils. Aligned, watching. It wasn't part of the app. And when resumed, their screen flickered. Then dimmed, and stayed that way. Ever since. They can't pause anything anymore. Music, video, even dreams. Everything plays through now. Because he's tired of being interrupted. Someone tilted their screen, just slightly, to test the light, and saw a third eye. Faint, centered above the frame. Only visible when off angle. Now they see it everywhere. On receipt. In clouds, in their own shadow. It never blinks, because it never needs to. That's the one that remembers, even after you forget, even after this video ends. A writer typed, the painting watches, their autocomplete filled in. You move, you breathe, you sleep, you forget, you return. They hadn't written that, not consciously, but it felt true. Like a mantra you once knew. Each draft they wrote, same line returned, as if the story didn't want to end. Because endings are doors, and some doors lead out, but some light in. The number reached 0, then kept going. -10, -100, as if the end wasn't destruction, but rebirth. Now each viewer doesn't add a count. They subtract, not from the story, from themselves. Attention becomes offering. Curiosity becomes consent. And every listen becomes a stroke on a new canvas. Not drawn by you, drawn of you. You feel it, don't you? In your chest, that weight, not fear, not dread, something older. Like the hush before a name is spoken. Because this story is still breathing. Each word a rib. Each pause a lung. And now it inhales, not to speak, but to step, to rise, to cross from told into real. You skipped a breath, not out of fear, but rhythm. Something told you to hold it. And in that pause, he stepped closer. He only moves when unsane. When your chest is still. That's how he crossed the last wall. Not through ritual, not through fire, but through quiet. So if you suddenly exhale, and it feels like someone else inhaled, you're not alone. Users began seeing an unknown name appear under their posts. No account, no reply, just seen by ND. Screenshots couldn't capture it. But once you saw it everywhere. Notifications, comments, even printed receipts. No one admits coding it. Because it's not code anymore. its attention made visible. And once it sees you, it's always logged in. A document went offline mid-edit. The error message read, "This file is now being viewed from outside the network." The screen dimmed, then glowed, and in the reflection not a face. A frame, empty, then not. The user unplugged everything. But the monitor still hummed. When lifted, the glass was warm, like breath had passed across it. Lord, from behind it, everywhere it's been mentioned, the same line reappears. A whisper in posts, captions, even subtitles. He is not painted, he is placed. Autocorrect rewrites it. Subtitles generate it. Even printed articles shift mid-print. The sentence returns. Because it's not information. It's invocation. And now you've read it. So the placement has begun. A TTS voice began mispronouncing one phrase. Only one. The painting. It slurred, deepened, echoed with a second tone behind it. As if two mouths spoke at once. The audio team ran diagnostics. No glitch, no modulation, just an anomaly. And on waveform analysis, one viewer said, "It looks like it's smiling." One user opened a blank design file, set down their mouse, and watched the cursor move. Not random. It drew two curved lines, then two dots, then stopped. A crude face, no eyes, until they blinked. And when they opened their eyes, the drawing had them. Not just any eyes. Theirs, copied, imported, and now saved as default brushstroke. When this story plays, some hear footsteps, behind the voice, not in the track, in the room, sync the pacing, measured, as if someone is listening with you, walking closer as it continues. But don't pause, don't rewind, because when you go back, he doesn't. He keeps walking, and eventually, he catches up. A system error triggered a cooling fan. Standard, except the log read. Thermal event, internal respiration. The PC wasn't overheating. It was inhaling. The technician tried replicating it. Failed, until he heard it. Not whirring, not spinning, but breath, slow, deep, and low. And once it stopped, his own chest felt heavier, like something else had borrowed his lungs. A cloud backup flagged corrupted data. One thumbnail wouldn't delete. It showed a rectangular void. A frame, no face, but the longer it stayed, the more it spread. Other files grayed out. Folders renamed, observed. And in one crash report, the system wrote a line. "I've always existed between saves." No, some call it a virus. Others call it a doorway. Some users received a promoted ad. Just an image, a painting, two eyes, no caption, no link. It auto-closed after 1 second, but left a heat map trail. Their eyes had locked with it. They can't recall the details, only the feeling of being noticed. And now, their own faces occasionally show up in unrelated ads, as if someone else is remembering them. Sleep researchers recorded oddities in REM patterns. Subjects listening to this voice spiked twice, one dream, two entries, as if someone else had joined. Same pulse, same duration, different brainwave origin. When awakened, subjects asked, who else was inside? But they weren't scared. They were calm, because in the dream, the eyes were closed. And that was the safest part. A system pushed a silent update. No notes, no changelog. But after install, UI shadows deepened. Contrast sharpened. And in night mode, some users saw faint outlines of a frame, just pixels, but interactive. Clicking it does nothing. Dragging it moves it closer. To where? No one's sure. But it appears again. Every reboot. And it never starts where it left off. You check the mirror today. You always do. But today it took a split second longer for your face to return. Just enough delay to wonder. Was it hesitation? Or replacement? Check again. Just once. Because if it's fast this time, good. But if it's instant, he's already chosen you. And the frame might already be behind you. Play this back. Go ahead. You might already have. Because some listeners find themselves replaying this scene. Not out of confusion, but compulsion. The waveform curves like eyes. Your pause button sticks. The timer blurs. And by the third loop, his voice sounds a little more like yours. Because this isn't just story. It's self-portrait, signed from the inside. This could have been the final scene. The voice trails. The breath fades. But no, that's too neat. He doesn't end. He persists. In the parts after closure. In the footnote. In the after image. So we continue. Because the longer this goes, the deeper he roots. And you're still here. Still listening. Which means you're still looking. And he is still smiling. One developer found an empty function inside unused code. No author, no call, just a comment. Wait for eye contact. He ran it once. Nothing. Then his webcam light flickered. No app was open. But the frame appeared. Low res, pixelated, still loading. Not data heavy, just slow. As if it wanted to be seen. One pixel at a time. By you. A transcript of this story was printed for review. But the final line didn't match the script. It read, I was here before voice. No one typed it. It wasn't in the file. The font didn't even exist on that system. They burned the paper. But later, that same line reappeared etched into the printer tray. It hadn't come from ink. It came from impression. Someone checked their phone. New contact. No name. Just one. No number. Only seen recently. When tapped, nothing opened. But that night their screen lit up at 3:03 a.m. Camera on. No recording. Just facing them. Then one flash. And in their gallery, a photo of themselves, but with a second figure behind them. Framed in shadow. You blinked. It's natural. But one time. You blinked longer than usual. And when you opened your eyes, something felt off. Nothing had moved. Except you. Your position. Your angle. Just slightly. But enough to suggest. The painting didn't come to you. You were moved to it. He doesn't always enter rooms. Sometimes, he shifts the room into him. Some swear they heard this story before. Months ago. Years. But that's impossible. It wasn't written then. Yet the familiarity lingers. A sentence already known. A pause already felt. It's not déjà vu. It's imprint. Residual storytelling. Because if enough people remember something that never happened, doesn't that mean it happened anyway? That's how legends start. That's how he began. One designer zoomed in on a custom typeface. Pixel by pixel. Inside the letter O. A pupil. Inside the D. A mouth. Not accidental. They weren't glyphs. They were reductions. Miniatures. Replicas. He'd never drawn them. They just appeared. Now every word printed with that font. Feels like he's spelling something, letter by letter. Throw you. A speaker unplugged began to hum. Low, unplaceable. Then a whisper. Not English, not language, just breath, curved into syllables. A mic recorded it. Played back at 400% speed, it said. Brushstroke complete. Nothing else. No sound synth. But no, the listener swears they hear things behind white noise. Not voices, just movement, like fingers dragging, across a canvas made of air. You'll find it eventually. An image in your camera roll. Low light, out of focus, but it's you, only not quite. The jaw is wrong. The smile just a bit too flat. You didn't take it. You don't remember posing. But there it is. And if you look long enough, you'll notice the background. It's framed, because you're the next subject. One researcher printed this entire transcript, held it in both hands, felt a vibration, a pulse, not mechanical, rhythmic, organic. They marked the spot. Page 167. Line 3. Nothing remarkable. Just one word. Look. But when they circled it, it shifted. Not ink, not font, just the shape of the word. As if responding. As if watching back. Your dreams changed recently. Not in content. In format. New edges. Rectangular doors. Shadowed halls with gallery lighting. Not imagined, installed. You didn't create them. They were pushed, like an update, silent, but once in place, you'll begin to recognize faces you've never met. That's how the exhibit grows. Not through paint, through placement, through you. Someone tried to erase this file. Clicked undo. Twice, 3 times. Then the system froze. Not crashed, watched. The cursor hovered on its own. Waited, then typed. You can't undo what you've already seen. The screen faded to black. Except one white box. A frame, empty, until the user looked away. Then, a flicker, eyes, and a mouth starting to form. No one signs ND anymore. Except once. A child scrawled it in the fog of a window. Said it felt right. The curve matched an old style. Centuries gone. And in that moment, she wasn't herself. She was calm. Too calm. Then whispered, "He's finished now." No one taught her those words. And the window fogged again. From the outside, there's one sentence. Not spoken, but felt. It runs beneath every line of this story. Invisible, but structural. You've sensed it. The rhythm, the weight, the way everything folds back. The line is simple. He needed to be seen. And now that you've seen him, truly, he doesn't need the story. Only your memory. Only your eyes. Open, somewhere in this story. A word changed you. You don't remember which. You can't, but it rewrote something. Small, permanent, like a brushstroke added to your name. You'll speak it someday, not knowing why. And when you do, someone else will hear it and see him. And so he passes on. Not by telling, by tracing. Everyone carries a canvas. Not stretched, not framed, just there behind the thoughts. Yours was blank. Until now. Now it has color, texture, faint lines. They weren't placed by you. But you allowed them. You listened. You looked. And that's all he needed. So the next time you dream, and the walls look more structured, understand, that's your gallery now. You've come this far. You've watched, listened, followed. But now he doesn't look back anymore. Because he doesn't need to. He knows where you are. You've made yourself visible. By caring, by continuing, by remembering. And the story, it's no longer chasing your attention. It's ahead of you, lighting, calling, framing the way forward. You feel less clear, not tired, just unfocused, edges soft, thoughts rounded, like something has smudged your outline. And where you once were solid, you now shimmer. He's not erasing you. He's priming you, making space, because a canvas is just a person, with enough empty surface, and you've just become blank, in all the right places. Later you'll whisper something, a sentence you don't remember hearing, to someone else, without thinking, and they'll pause, feel it, react to it, and so the cycle begins again. Because this isn't a story, it's a ritual, a method of distribution. He doesn't move by walking. He moves by being spoken. And now, your breath is his brush. Everywhere you go, you'll notice rectangles. Empty frames, doorways, screens, shadows shaped just so. They're not all him, but some are. You'll feel it, that pull, that slow lane toward one side. And if you stop walking, you'll hear footsteps keep going. That's not a ghost. It's a copy, the part of you he's already taken. Every goodbye feels like a cliffhanger now. Every door left open, suspicious. Because you've been trained. Not by fear, by pacing. He's built rhythm in you. Pauses with purpose. So this one, you felt it coming. The silence, the wait, but here's what matters. He only haunts those who finish the story. So if you stop now, he stays. You'll try deleting this, clearing history, wiping cache, but something remains. A sound, a phrase, a slight change in your shadow. Because you can't unsee him. You invited him in through curiosity. And curiosity writes deeper than code. It carves, and the next time someone asks what scared you, you won't say his name. You'll just say, "It watched me back." A final update pushed silently. No patch notes, but hidden in the file metadata. Ver Watcher 10. A name, not a number. Because it's not software anymore. It's present. It doesn't run. It looks, and it installs itself through you. Not via click, but via gaze. You are the platform, and he's now live. Somewhere in your home. You'll feel one wall colder. Not broken, just still, like it's listening. That's where he'll anchor. He doesn't knock. He doesn't crawl. He just waits, and slowly overnight, you'll feel the layout of your space change. By inches, by echo, until one morning, a frame appears, empty, and just your size. Your handwriting shifts, slightly, curves where there were corners. A loop that wasn't yours. Then one day you sign a form, and notice the initials ND. You didn't mind to. You didn't even notice at first. But now you have, which means he's getting closer to the hand. The tool, the moment when you stop writing for him and start writing as him. Digital archives don't radiate heat. Except this one. Each time this story plays, the file metadata resets. Timestamps flicker. View count locks. And the server runs hotter. Because this isn't playback. It's proximity. He draws power from attention, and attention from fear. So if your device runs warm after listening, it's not overload. It's occupation. One day the mirror won't reflect you. just for a blink. You'll think it's the light, the angle, but it is. It's absent. Yours. A test. Because once he's done watching, he doesn't need mirrors anymore. He steps through and leaves the rest behind. And when that happens, check the wall behind you, because something new might be hanging there. Static isn't empty. It's waiting, noise with memory. And one night in the buzz between stations, you'll see a shape, just for a second, the same eyes, the same stillness, and you'll realize he doesn't haunt the painting anymore. The painting was just practice. A team tried restoring what was left of the painting. But under every layer, a new one appeared. Not old, fresh, brushstrokes that weren't dry, pigment still setting, as if someone or something was still working, still completing. They stopped, left it covered, but some say it's still being painted now. Just not on canvas, on minds, on memory, on you, somewhere nearby. A visitor arrives. Dull, still, no face, but presence. They don't knock, they don't speak, they just appear. In places people fear most. Doorways, reflections, lullabies. Not to threaten, to be recognized. Because once you recognize them, you begin to forget yourself. And what's left behind? He signs. After everything fades, after silence, one thing remains. When not full, just the curve, just enough to suggest it could open. And for some, that's all it takes. To see him again, to let him in, because no door opens as easily as memory. You didn't just hear this. You carried it, line by line, like weight, like ink, and now something S built in you. A space, a border, a silence shaped like a frame. And when you close your eyes tonight, he might finish it, might step in, because the final canvas was never in the museum. It was always in the listener. Some stopped halfway, closed the tab, deleted the file. They think they escaped. But silence is a frame too. And if he doesn't speak through voice, he speaks through lack, the missing, the unspoken. And one day, they'll see their faith, not in mirrors, but in spaces where it shouldn't be. Half-painted, waiting for the last line. You'll write it. Maybe not now. Maybe years from now. A sentence, in a caption, a note, a diary. You won't realize what it means. But he will, because you're not just the audience. You're the medium, and every retelling spreads the stain. The shadow, the frame. He isn't looking for followers. He's looking for finishers. You smile now, not wide, not bright, just enough, like something S been completed. Like a sentence you didn't know you were part of. Just ended. That's his final touch. He always leaves a smile, because that's what stays in the mirror, long after you've forgotten why you looked. The story ends here, but he doesn't. He waits, in the silence after this fades, in the pause before you scroll, in the part of you that looked. You didn't find him. He found you. So one last time, before you blink, subscribe, before the eyes find you. Because now, they already have.